Here we have an MDF floor that I'm going to put a faux wood floor profile on. I'm going to use a transfer stick because I want random width flooring. So I'm making marks on the floor anywhere between 3/8 of an inch wide and 3/4 of an inch wide. And I'm transferring those same marks onto my layout stick so that I can move the layout stick to the other side of the floor and have exactly the same markings on that side of the floor. When you're using a layout stick, always start with the outside edge of the stick so that you have an indexing point. The straight edge that I'm going to use will be held firm on the MDF floor by pieces of masking tape on the back. I'm going to hold it with one hand, but unless you have a helper to hold the floor for you, you can't use a straight edge as a scoring guide unless you stabilize it with tape on the back. I can use a screwdriver, I can use an awl, I can use the back of a utility knife as a scoring tool, but my favorite tool is an awl, so that's what I'm going to use for this project. I'm holding the awl quite upright, and I'm pushing down gently on the first pass and more firmly on each successive pass. And after 3 or 4 passes, maybe as many as 6, I can move the straight edge to the next set of marks, and now I'm testing to see if I've made the score deep enough. That I know that the score is deep enough if it will guide the edge of a piece of folded sandpaper up and down. That's a process that I'm going to have to do later on in this faux wood flooring, and if the groove that I've made by scoring isn't deep enough, then it doesn't guide the sandpaper when I'm trying to sand the groove. Every so often, I'm going to have to renew the tape on the back of my straight edge, maybe every 4 or 5 scoring. I'll have to renew it. So I might have to renew it 3 or possibly 4 times in the width of doing a whole floor. Now here are the scores all the way from one side to the other. Random width, but all straight edged. I'm going to use a very coarse piece of sandpaper. This sanding block is 80 grit. I could even use 60 grit, and I'm making very long, very straight passes, nearly the full length of the floor, in order to flatten the floor, in order to remove the little ridge that's on the edge of each one of the scores, and to put the beginnings of a grain pattern in the floor. And now I'm sanding each one of the grooves to make sure that it's nice and smooth inside, and then with a stiff kitchen brush I'm cleaning the whole floor. I'm putting the base coat of paint on, and any paint in the yellow, tan, or peach color range is a useful base color. The richest colors come from a peach base coat. This right here is English ivory as a base coat, and that's a nice strong color, and it gives a good foundation for a pretty grain work. I'm putting it on fast. I want to get it all on fast while it's still wet, and then I'm going to wipe off nearly all of it. I just want to leave a transparent coat with lines that are formed by the pad of paper that I'm using. That variety of color and the lines that are being put into the base coat are part of the grain look. So there's going to be some of the MDF showing through, there's going to be some of the paint showing through, and as you can see, I'm shaping that color with the technique that I use in holding the paper towels. Now I'm cleaning out the grooves. I've let the paint dry a little bit, and I'm cleaning out the grooves to get them nice and deep. You don't want the bottom of the grooves to have generally you don't want the bottom of the grooves to have any paint in them. Now I'm doing very full length and straight scoring with my coarse sandpaper. Again, this is part of what gives the grain look to the finished product. And now I'm going to clean it once again. This is Minwax Express Color. It is a surface applied stain, latex based. You can't use a penetrating stain for this process. I'm putting it on wet and fast. I don't want it to be too thick, but it's got to be thick enough so that I can spread it quickly, because I'm going to need to begin shaping the grain look while this surface stain is still wet. So I want to get it on there as quickly as I can and begin working it with some crumpled paper towels. Spreading it evenly. I want to get it so that it's flooded each one of the grooves. It is important to have this go into the bottom of the grooves. Now a crumpled up paper towel, and I'm doing long straight motions with this. I'm going to take off a considerable amount of this stuff, and then I'm going to replace the paper towel with another piece. As you can see, my motion is as nearly as I can full length, the whole length of the floor. It is the action of the paper towel that creates the grain look. Now I'm starting with a fresh piece of paper towel, and I'm doing long straight motions. The Express Color takes about 10 minutes to get so that it's pretty dry on the surface, and as you can see, the behavior of the stain is getting, the marks that are in the stain are getting finer and finer as I continue to brush it out, back and forth, back and forth. That's because the stain is actually drying while I'm doing this, and I'm going to keep doing this while it dries. And this is real time, what you're looking at here on this video. This is, in fact, the amount of time that it takes to brush this out. So you're looking at unedited footage, and you can tell exactly how the floor look is changing as I am brushing it out and as it is drying. And my motions are getting faster, and the touch of the crumpled paper towel is getting lighter and lighter. As this dries out, I'm going to go faster and faster, and I'm going to touch it more and more lightly. Every single motion is nearly straight ahead. There will be a little bit of variety. Each time you touch the paper towel down on the surface, it leaves a little bit of cross mark on it, and that cross mark is not completely undesirable, but you don't want the cross mark to go from one board to the next board. So anytime that you have any kind of swirl, or anytime you have a diagonal grain feature, you need to brush that out so that it will only show up on one board at a time. Now I'm just touching the board very, very lightly. Each pass is as quick as I can make it and as light as I can make it. The grain features are getting finer and finer as I go. The marks that are being made are getting lighter and lighter. And this is how the wood grain effect is put in place. Now I've let the Express Color dry for about an hour or more, and this is acrylic urethane that I'm putting on top as a final clear coat. I don't want it to be too thick, so I'm brushing it out first cross grain and then with the grain. My final brush motion is always going to be full length and with the grain. Final product. This is English Ivory base paint with a mahogany stain on top. This is Peach base paint with a mahogany stain on top. Here is a Tangerine base paint with mahogany stain on top. This is Lincoln Brown base paint and a cherry stain on top. And this is a cafe latte base paint with a walnut stain on top.